Next in.
Welcome to Next In. I am by myself hosting again, which is great. Like I said last time, I was kind of sick and tired of Shane joining me. Now he's on his last day of vacation, so it is just me. I'm the only one who works around here at Next Level. So I'm Taylor Duncan coming to you from beautiful, cloudy today, Nashville, Tennessee. But I am joined by Ben Feferman, who is the CEO of Amuka Sports and the Chief Gaming Officer for Parabellum Esports. Just excited to have you, Ben. This will be our first foray, at least from a podcast sense, with someone in the esports space. We've done a lot of gaming, but more on the product side and the actual IP side. So I'm pretty excited to kind of get your take on the gaming space from the esports, which has exploded over the last 5-10 years. So Ben, thank you first of all for joining me today.
My pleasure.
So tell us a little bit about Amuka Sports, a little bit about Amuka Esports and Parabellum Esports, what you do, obviously CEO and then Chief Gaming Officer, so probably slightly different roles at the two places. So give us some about that.
Yeah, sure. I've been in the esports industry for the past almost 40 years now. I started Amuka Esports because I really believe in the idea that there should be a whole esports ecosystem. And that means actually having physical gaming venues, which we have 3 of them, that are supported by leagues, tournaments, and in the case, eventually our team became a pro team, which is called Parabellum Esports. So that's always been the goal of mine, is to sort of wove everything together into one. And that's my responsibility between the two companies.
So tell us about Amuka, right? So Amuka Esports is focused on the, as you called it, the ecosystem, everything from teams. What is the focus when it comes to teams? Is there anything outside of just creating large venues and large competitions, or are you working on building teams yourself, or where are you guys going with Amuka?
Yeah, there's really 3 pillars to the company. One is the gaming venues. So these are places that people can come in, play, compete. They're located in Toronto, Ottawa, and Windsor. And the model there is really tournament based. Is at the end of the day, kids are not really going to leave their house just to jump on a slightly faster PC with better internet. It's not really enough value. They want to come out and compete and play against their friends and play for prizing or prize money in certain cases. So that's a big part, is the gaming venues. The second is really our tournaments and leagues. Like, we're doing 200-300 events a year. We have streams going on like basically every single day between all the different games, the one-offs, the leagues, the weeklies. And the last area that we're really big into is we develop academic curriculum, esports curriculum for colleges and universities. So you can actually now study esports and get a degree or diploma at a college or university. And that's the type of stuff that we're developing.
And so now, but Parabellum is your team, right? That's the team you compete on.
Yeah, so Parabellum exactly is the pro team. So we actually sold the team off to a company called React. So that's why it's kind of 2 separate companies. And the team competes in Rainbow Six in the Pro League. So that takes place in Vegas. And then we also have a women's roster in Rainbow Six as well, which competes in Brazil. And the last pillar is iRacing, is we have a whole huge iRacing division in endurance racing, dirt racing, things like that.
So you compete in Rainbow Six. Is it one of those things that, like, all right, so I do that for my job, but I really don't want to play that on the side? Well, what do you play like when you just get, hey, it's 3 hours hanging out with friends, you can play whatever you want to play? I'm guessing you don't turn on Rainbow Six. You're probably like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't turn on Rainbow Six because it's too hard of a game for me. The players, though, yeah, I mean, they're scrimming, like they're practicing with other teams, almost every single day. So definitely, it's very healthy to play games casually for fun that you're not a pro in. For me, it happens to be, I'll admit it, it's typically going to be Fortnite. So if I have a few minutes,
I'll admit it. Why such embarrassment around it?
it's like, but it's kind of like a 40 or 50-year-old guy saying his favorite band is Backstreet Boys. It's just the demographic is a little different than the person. So that's all. No shame, but that's my
I
unique
was gonna
choice.
say my preteen and teenager, they like it, so I guess that's probably where it's coming from.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a younger game, but it's a great game.
Okay. So you played. So where did you come up with this idea? Like, again, a lot of people are like, oh, esports, whatever, it's a flash in the pan. It's not going to take off. But then there are some people who have sort of looked at it and said, this is the future of sports and sporting, and they can sell out a, 100,000 person venue in 3 minutes for something of esports. You can barely even get that in the Super Bowl. So there's kind of two sides to at least what people think of it, what's going to happen with esports. What made you want to dive basically headfirst into it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I was in investment banking, actually. I don't really look like a Wall Street type of guy, but I was. And I was raising money for different company, like real estate projects, tech companies, and eventually esports companies were coming to me to raise. And kind of this like aha moment was I was raising for a company, and it was a great idea, a really awesome idea, but the CEO sucked. And I kept hearing from investors, great idea. I just like don't trust this guy, or like I just don't feel he's competent enough. If you were doing it, that'd be different. But and then there was that kind of just, you know, spiraled into this feeling that hey, maybe I shouldn't just be a raise capital mercenary and raise money for companies. Maybe I really should do it myself. And I was really passionate about esports, and no one was really building a whole ecosystem at the time. Now it's like that's what everybody does. So I raised a bit of money, and then we were pretty quick to do like 4 really fast micro acquisitions that really kickstarted our portfolio.
So yeah, again, that's one of those like pretty typical stories. We talk to a lot of people who go from investment banking to esports. so
Yeah.
that's pretty atypical, right? Like most people who are in the esports world probably didn't come from an investment banking background. Um, had you been playing games your whole life? Is that like you've been kind of invested in the video game space prior, and it was just something that was a huge passion of yours that when you saw it, you're like, gosh, it'd be cool if this was my job.
I definitely wasn't a lifelong gamer. Big gamer as a kid, and then kind of when I got to university, I had this moment where I was thinking, I could never really impress a girl by being the best at NHL '96, and it didn't really amount to much. And so I kind of gave up on gaming. I learned guitar and did other things. So
to get girls, I get it. There's a lot of
yeah,
decisions
for
you
sure,
make
if
are
you
for
could
that.
play, some smooth Dave Matthews or something, you're in good shape. So yeah, I took a break, and then really it happened. I was at a cocktail party, and I met these guys that were starting this company called Enthusiasts, and it was a startup. They told me about it, so I invested in that company, and we shared an office, and I got to meet them. So I sort of hung out in that space for a while, and that really planted all those seeds at the right time to say, okay, now that's when I'm ready to start.
So where do you see the future of esports? Like if you obviously, and I love that you have the investment banking background so I do a lot of angel investing, and some of the companies that I almost always will look at, like what you just said, which is who the founder is or the founding team, because that's arguably the most important part, even more so than the idea. And the best founding teams that I have seen are ones, this might sound, people might not like hearing this, have investment banking background because they go into it with this end in mind. They don't just do it because they like the idea. They actually see things a little bit 2 or 3 steps down the road. So I'm guessing your investment banker hat doesn't completely come off as you look at your company or companies. So what do you see in the esports space as the future?
Yeah, and that's an awesome point. And just to that, when I actually did invest in Enthusiast, and I used to do a lot more angel investing, it was the banker on the team that sold me. Again, it's not that I didn't trust the guy leading it, the passion. Gamers have the passion, but without the sort of capital markets experience, or so someone on the team that's going to raise the capital and have some sort of exit strategy, like I'm typically not investing, and so that's what put me over the edge. Um, so yeah, so in terms of where do I see the growth, I think there's a lot of really cool areas that are just going to keep going. I mean, the fact that you have traditional sports, whether it's, NHL, NBA, NFL, PGA, that audience is just getting older and older. That's now into their
Yep.
40s, and now in many sports into their 50s. So you naturally have esports, which is tracking decades younger, being a much better play for brands. Um, I think the big, shift is going to be right now. I'll give you an example. Taylor, do you play League of Legends?
I don't. I know plenty who do. Obviously, we do a lot of video game recruiting, and so a lot of the people here play League of Legends, play Valorant, etc.
Yeah, so that's an example. I don't play either. I can very loosely follow the game. But if I were to invite my mom out, to go watch a game of League of Legends, she would have no idea what's going on. And if you've never played the game, you can't follow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. There are a lot of traditional sports. I've never competed in MMA in my life, and I probably never will, but I love to watch. And there's a lot of sports where I've never put on a pair of football equipment, and I love to watch football. But still has that problem where if you're not a gamer, if you haven't played that game, there's no broadcast experience for you. And so I think the game publishers know that. And this sort of next wave of games is going to be geared towards people who don't play the game but are going to enjoy watching it, because at the end of the day, the audience numbers are the most important thing, and if you don't grow the audience, then the industry is never going to survive.
Yeah, and won't the industry probably more than anything else, sort of like the sport you mentioned, the live sports industry survives based on their broadcast deals. Like that's where the money is. It's they talk about the stadiums and the arenas, and yes, that's important. But the broadcast deals are what are paying. That's why they kept playing through the pandemic, right? They played through the
Yeah.
pandemic because they were getting NBC or Fox or whoever paying them. They weren't going to do it because they wanted to play football. They did it because NBC was still going to pay them on a per game basis. So broadcast rights has to be a big part of where esports is focusing energy. The challenge is you can
Yeah.
broadcast it anywhere online. So where are the broadcasting rights in esports? Is it Amazon coming in? Is it Twitch, which is Amazon? Where is the money coming from for esports to continue to flourish and thrive?
Yeah, and you're right. Broadcast rights are a major part of the industry. I mean, typically we're still seeing 60 to 70% of esports revenue coming from sponsorships, but the number two category is media licensing, those media rights. And that's why I said audience, because those broadcast deals are totally directly tied to audience. Um, right now, it's pretty much a two-horse race. It's Twitch and it's YouTube. So, for example, the Call of Duty League or Overwatch League, they will sell off those rights to one of the two platforms. In the past, they have tried to put esports on cable television and it's failed. And I don't think it should go on cable television. And I don't have ABC and I don't have. I
Yeah.
mean, I have ESPN, but you know what I mean. Like the cord cutting is just a reality, and
Yeah.
so again, those streaming platforms I think are the best plays to take advantage.
Well, and by and large, like you said, the consumer of esports currently is probably between the ages of 15 and 25 or 30 is probably the major market. Those are the people who spend more time on their computer, more time on Twitch or YouTube than they do on ABC. So it doesn't make sense to broadcast it in a place that now you're going to force a 16-year-old to go to ABC, which they're not familiar with, versus going to YouTube, which they do 16 times a day. It's probably a much better opportunity. Do you see an opportunity to grow a third for a three-headed monster because there is only two places to consume? There's only two people competing for broadcast rights. Do you see, because when you think of now, and they've talked about Thursday night football has become this, hey, Amazon has come in and taken it away from used to be the ESPN, cable TV versus broadcast TV. Well, now they've seen, now it's cable TV, broadcast TV, and now you have this third person, the internet, right? Amazon has come into this, and then even YouTube started to do it and so on. Do you see the possibility for a third party to disrupt the industry and actually challenge for broadcast rights?
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. I think what we saw with Microsoft's Mixer casualty. So, in case people don't know, Microsoft did launch a major competitor to Twitch. This is like really before YouTube and Facebook even put the words gaming in front of their platforms. And it was a colossal failure. They eventually shut it down. So, people, anyone on the outside is saying, hey, if Microsoft with their bazillion dollars and their that whole ecosystem, whole gaming ecosystem,
Yeah.
couldn't compete with Twitch, um, should we? That's the question that everyone's asking. But nonetheless, I do think others are going to do it. And to me, the two big ones that are obvious, that are not really in the ecosystem directly, but will be, and that's Apple and Netflix. And Netflix is
Yep.
already rolling out their games. It makes total sense once they start with live broadcasts. And Apple TV, it'll be the same thing. They're going to start to pick up media rights, and
Yep.
it'll be an app easy on your phone. So those two will go in, no doubt. And I think it'll be great if it's a 4 or 5 or 6 horse race.
I think so too. And I think what you might even find, like the Hulu might start to enter it, because again, Hulu, if I'm not mistaken, Hulu owned by, I believe, Disney, right? Disney owns, so I think it's
Yeah.
ABC, ESPN, and Hulu kind of all packaged together. And that's a place where you get ESPN looking at going, why don't we add esports to our portfolio? And to do it, we can put it on the Hulu network or the Hulu platform. So that's sort of maybe the Parabellum side. From the Amuka side, you're doing personally live events. You like you said, you had 3 locations. Would you consider yourself a competitor to Belong? Have you heard of Belong? Is it essentially
Yeah, sure.
a competitor to the two, right?
They're so much bigger than me. So,
Right.
they're definitely a competitor. We right now all our venues are in Canada, and unfortunately, almost every esports venue closed in Canada because of the pandemic. Canada had
Yep.
one among the strictest sort of COVID measures and lockdowns in the Western
Yep.
world, and so many LAN centers and esports venues were a casualty of that. So luckily we did survive and we grew. We added our 3rd location a couple months ago. So in Canada, we don't really have any competition right now. I imagine we will, and for sure Belong, very deep pockets. They make amazing venues, and the other competitor is would be kind of Nerd Street or Esports Arena.
The reason why I bring up Belong, they just launched maybe 3-4 months ago, right down the road from where we're at in Nashville. Technically in Franklin, just launched a Belong gaming studio, their 4th in North America, or at least in the United States. And it was kind of interesting because we work with, in conjunction with the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center in Williamson County, that works with the high schools. And so they have now just formed a partnership to be able to create esports as a high school training ground, class, etc., and created a partnership with Belong. So do you do anything with either the universities in Canada or the high schools in their STEM programs or whatever to bring the high school students over to Amuka and help kind of create more of a awareness around esports at the high school level or college level?
Yeah, so firstly, Belong, like they're doing awesome things in the industry. Wim Stocks, all of us Canadians, whether we live there now or not, we all know each other. So, I've been following that journey, and I think it's great that they're really integrating with high school and college. We're trying to. Our model is a little bit different in a sense. I think we want to be building venues actually on the college campuses. So we're in talks with the schools to say, hey, give us some space on campus in some maybe underserved room or space, and we're going to build out a really cool esports venue and sort of have some sort of rev share. So 100% they need to be integrated together. And one other thing I'll mention is, though, in terms of teams, though, esports teams don't really recruit from college and university. It's kind of too late. So the recruitment really is high school. And so, that's where I think for Parabellum, more high school partnerships is important, because that age group really is where we're looking for.
That's crazy. I guess that's what you see even in your traditional sports. This whole idea, now they're starting to even recruit, and they're hosting these tournaments. And I know because my kids are all in these sports tournaments, where you're starting to see the college coaches, they can't wait until someone's a senior to start thinking about bringing them to the university or whatever. It just keeps getting younger and younger. And so It's interesting that you're looking at it going, yeah, you know what? Getting to them at McGill University, that's too late. They're either if they're good, they either already have their sponsorship deal and they're on a team. But I love it. I think if I'm McGill University and Amuka says, hey, let's utilize some component of the engineering campus, computer science campus. That's a sales pitch too for McGill to bring in more STEM students to go look at our awesome esports venue that you get to use in between classes. You can go in there and play League of Legends, Valorant, whatever game, and however you have it set up with them, as well as, to your point, kind of a revenue sharing revenue stream for the university and for Amuka. So I love that from a alliance building standpoint. You might not like McGill. I don't know if you got issues with that.
No, it's a great school. Yeah, exactly. We just announced a partnership with Algoma University, which has a location in just outside Toronto. In many cases, like every school has an esports lab now, and they're getting more and more impressive. And as someone who builds esports venues, whenever I go to a city, I always want to go see the college or the city's gaming venue because I'm interested in it. It's what I do. And yeah, it's incredibly impressive. Like they're just starting to really spend the money to build out, whether it's a small lab or a full blown like gaming arena.
Okay. Well, when you come to Nashville, you'll have to take me to the esports place down here, and we can bag on Belong a little bit. We can say how it's worse than what Amuka would have done. I mean, we're okay. I'm okay with doing that. I don't have I got no allegiance to Belong. So, so you're saying that in the esports space, it's younger and younger. It's at the high school level. What game do you see really starting to, that's not currently in the esports world, that you think is going to be the next Valorant or League of Legends?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just explain just to the listeners why high school. Biologically, your response time significantly slow down even from 18 to 21. And so if you've been playing the game for a few years, the kids that are 2, 3 years younger have just grown up with the game. They played earlier. They're faster and quicker. And so you would think in esports where, you're sitting in a chair, you're not worried about blowing out your knee or concussions or CTE, and you would have a very long, illustrious career. You could play these games for 10, 20 years. It's actually the opposite. The careers are actually even shorter than in most traditional sports. And it's really kind of like most players are really in leagues for a year or two. And then typically the younger rookies are taking their spots.
So there's two thoughts run through my head. I'm guessing response time between 18 and 21-year-olds probably has to do with drinking as well. But this is also a good excuse for why my 13-year-old beats me at 2K. So when he beats me, I'll just let him know it's an age
There's
thing.
nothing. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. It's just, you just slow down and you don't realize it. But it's a very meaningful and material difference.
So what game do you see being the next one that's going to kind of pop off?
Yeah, I think with what has already been announced, nothing is going to blow, Valorant isn't all of a sudden going to, blow away other games in the first person shooter genre. So I don't really think there's going to be a major shift with what's out there now. I think it's what's coming is going to be the game changer. Can VR, which is still so far behind, can games like, Population One or, other sort of multiplayer games, finally make that leap to AAA, to a AAA title. And there's a game coming out called Veil, one of the first VR shooters it's actually developed in Miami. These games have a chance. The other kind of category that I think is really cool is, sort of the gamification of more fitness. So something like Zwift. So the Zwift
Supernatural or whatever.
Yeah, these things are going to bring non-gamers into gaming. And so if you don't know what Zwift is, basically you're on, let's say, a treadmill. Let's say, Taylor, we're going for a run. We're synced up together with our pods. And if I slow down, you pass me on the screen. And so we can actually go for a run in real time and real space. And so these types of esports competitions, I think, are the next wave where, Tour de France and cycling could be sort of the next esport.
Yeah, I could see that. Not me on a treadmill. That I can't see. That's not going to happen. But I could see that becoming, a kind of a combination of both gaming and traditional physical sport being, woven together with companies like you said, Zwift, or even the Supernatural or whatever, where there is a physical component to what you're doing and not just sitting down, right?
Yeah.
And now, in which case, I could actually maybe beat my kids.
Yeah, you
So.
got a chance. And really, aside for that, it's for sure the future's mobile. Um, whether it's Free Fire or whether it's PUBG, whether it's Call of Duty Mobile, we have to understand that this like PC North American master race is so over, and I don't even think game publishers are really thinking PC only anymore. Valorant may be the last sort of one of its kind. Um, the reality is the majority of the world can't afford a high speed computer or even a console. They're gaming on this, and this is what's going to change everything. So the biggest games in terms of viewership numbers are already mobile, and 100% mobile is going to destroy all other platforms.
All right, so let's get a little bit personal here. So you're from where?
Toronto.
You're from Toronto, but you don't live in Toronto. You live down South Florida now.
Yeah, last year I got tired of the cold, tired of the lockdowns, tired of the politics, and I just said, "That's it, we're done." And
So you're a Canadian to Florida transplant. It is late May, which I'm not supposed to say because we don't always post these at the time I say it, but I said it. Sorry, we'll
summer,
have to deal
yeah.
with that. So it is getting close to summer. How different is it for you being in South Florida versus Toronto for one of the first or second times you've experienced this time of year down there?
Yeah, I mean, it's hot as balls. I mean, there's no other way around it. But
And humid and everything else, right?
yeah, there's days where it's unbearably hot. But when I look at the alternative, there's just so many days where it was unbearably cold. And
Yeah.
for me, my kids, there's so much we can do when it's hot. We go swim in the pool. We can go to the beach. I'm part of a boat club. We take the boat out. So there's just a lot you can
Yeah.
do. And we personally weren't really into a lot of winter sports. Like I grew up snowboarding and playing hockey, but my kids probably weren't going to do that
Yeah,
because
no,
I
we're the
knew I was
same. Again,
leaving. Yeah.
again, we're Chicago to Nashville, and yesterday I was watching a White Sox game, and the whole crowd was in hoodies or even winter, not winter jackets, but fall jackets, and we were watching it sitting in a pool. So it was like this weird, like really Chicago normally gets warm by about this time, but it was kind of unseasonably cool for the night, and it was a little bit warmer
Crazy.
here than usual. And it's just one of those things that, to your point, yes, it gets hot in the summer, but man, I will trade that any day of the week for March, April, May, October, November without snow. I'll trade that any day of the week.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go to Toronto, though, what is the one thing everyone needs to do up in Toronto? Give all the listeners, what is the thing you got to do in Toronto outside of going to Amuka's esports venues?
Yeah, so Waves Gaming in Toronto is definitely the highlight for all gamers. I'm like really anti-Toronto kind of. Like I'm like so gone. I'll tell you about why I don't cheer for any Toronto sports teams after. But yeah, I think the best parts of Toronto, I love the cottage country. If you go a couple hours out of the city, it's beautiful there, like with lakes and natural beauty. So I'm a huge fan of that. Otherwise, like kind of the big trendy streets, Queen Street, King Street, amazing bars, shops, cafes. So those are two great
Okay.
bets.
So now I'm going to go to Boca Raton, which is where you're at. What do I got to do? What's like the thing that so far you've been there and you're like, dude, you got to go to this restaurant or you got to go to this event or whatever?
Yeah, beaches are amazing. Whether you go to like Pompano Pier or Deerfield Beach, um, like just awesome places. We have great sports here, so I'm now a big Panthers fan. So that's in Sunrise, very close to Boca.
Yeah, I
And then
saw that
there's
on Twitter. You weren't so thrilled about what happened recently with the Panthers.
So I posted a picture of me throwing my Panthers t-shirt in the garbage, which
You've been a
was
fan for a year and you've given it up because they lost a game.
yeah. I really just remember a friend of mine doing that when the Raptors lost. Um, the year after they won the championship, he threw his
Yeah,
jersey in the garbage, and
yeah.
I just remember that photo when they lost. Yeah, I chucked it as well. But no, I'm a Panther fan for life now, and yeah, we got awesome sports here. Like just the experiences. I was at Miami Grand Prix a couple weeks ago, and we're that's what's great is we get world class events now.
Yeah, well, Miami again, is a pretty cool city. So, all right. So, last question. This is the one you get judged the most on. Favorite movie?
Probably Good Will Hunting.
Okay, it's a good.
Yeah,
Well, that's a very good. I mean, that's a solid movie. A lot of people will forget about it, but boy, that is as good as it. I mean, that's a pretty darn good movie. That was the
maybe
Matt
Matt
Damon.
Damon's name isn't as good as it used to be, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's probably one of my favorites.
yeah, that's where Damon and Affleck got their start, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, and from the northeast. So, all right, cool. Well, Ben, how can people, fans, either follow Amuka or Parabellum, get connected with you, or how can the audience help you join along, or maybe find a job with you?
Yeah, the best way is to find me on OnlyFans. I can drop my link, and no, I'm just kidding.
I
Yeah, I
was,
would
I was
say,
gonna I was gonna say I haven't followed OnlyFans, but I thought there was mostly nudes. But all right, cool.
yeah, no, I always like to throw that in there sometimes. But definitely find me on LinkedIn, Ben Feferman, or on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram. It's Boca Ben. So
Wow,
look
Boca
out for
Ben.
Boca
So pretty
Ben.
quick switch. I love it. Boca
Yeah.
Ben. So find Boca Ben or find Ben on LinkedIn. Connect with him. You can go find where can we find Amuka Esports?
Yeah, social media, Mookie Sports, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. No, not TikTok, YouTube. And or you can go to our website, amukiesports.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Ben, I thank you so much for joining us. Parabellum Esports, Amuka Esports. Go find Ben, connect with him. Thank you so much. I thought this was awesome. So I can't wait to have you come down here and we'll go over to the local esports gaming arena and you can show me around.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Next in